Okay, I'm gonna talk briefly about the topic for today, which is how to remain happy when you're with somebody you care about who's not happy. Many of us have been taught that it's rude or unloving for us to remain happy when somebody we care about is not happy. But if you think about it, um, becoming unhappy doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help an unhappy person. It's you going down into a lower frequency. And rather than pulling the unhappy person up into a higher frequency, you're going down into a lower frequency. You're joining them. And you might be joining them because you're afraid that they're going to be upset with you if you're happy while they're unhappy. Now, if they are upset with you for being happy when they're not, then that's an indication. First of all, they may be unhappy because their wounded self is in charge. And secondly, there's a lot of narcissism in the wounded self. Most of us have a narcissistic aspect to the wounded self, and that aspect will feel angry or upset if you're unhappy and somebody who loves you is not unhappy. So realize that if they're unhappy, they're coming from their wounded self. That's not a reason to join them in being unhappy with them. Now, there's another big issue about this, and that's those of you who are very empathic, as I am. I pick up everybody's feelings, and that's both a gift and a challenge. But if you're an empathic person and you're with somebody that you care about who's unhappy, it's likely that you're going to feel their unhappiness, and that could pull you down. So the reason that you're getting pulled down, not only because you're feeling their pain and you care about them, you don't want them to be in pain, and you're taking on some of it. You're taking on some of it because you are taking responsibility for their feelings. And of course, many of us have been trained to be caretakers and take responsibility for other people's feelings. Once again, this is not your responsibility. You do not help anybody. You don't help yourself. You don't help the other person by taking responsibility for them. In fact, you do the opposite of that. You disable them, you enable them. You're doing it for them, and they don't have to now do their own inner work to find out how they're treating themselves and what they're telling themselves that's making them feel unhappy. So it's just not helpful to anybody. It's not helpful to you. It's not helpful to them. But it is a challenge when you've been trained to take responsibility for another person's feelings. If you grew up with a narcissistic parent, it is likely that you were trained to take responsibility for that person's feelings in one way or another. Oh, don't make noise. Don't make daddy angry. Oh, mom's upset. Go and comfort her. Go put your arms around her. Many of us were taught to take responsibility for our parents or caregivers' feelings or siblings' feelings. And so it can be very deep in us that we feel responsible. And of course, when you love somebody, you don't want them to be unhappy. You don't want them to be sad. But realize that it doesn't help them. It may feel good to them in the moment, because any addictive thing feels good in the moment, and certainly making somebody else responsible for us and them taking care of us feels good in the moment. But that doesn't mean it's actually healing in any way. So if somebody that you love, somebody you care about is down, you can be there for them. You can say, I can see that you're unhappy. Would you like some help? Are you available for me to help you? And they usually, if they're in their wounded self, they won't be. There's nothing you can do, or, oh, it's just this situation or that situation, and no responsibility. Of course, the wounded self is the part of us that can't take responsibility. So if the person's available, if the person says, yeah, I'd love some help, then certainly you can be there for them. You can help them, but you can't do it for them. So that's the difference. Getting unhappy with them is in no way helpful to anybody. So you want to do what you can do to maintain your good feelings, your frequency, while being there for them, while bringing love into you, sending it out to them, but not taking on their feelings. It's, for me, it's been a big challenge because I'm like a sponge. It's just always been really, really easy for me to take on people's feelings. And I took on my parents' feelings all the time. I became the parent to their wounded kids. And many of us did. Many of us were parentified. And so it's been a challenge for me when I'm with people that I care about. I've learned not to do it with people I work with, and that's great. But with people I care about, it's been harder. One of the things that I've learned to do, and I think I've shared this before, is that I do bring their feelings into my heart with a lot of compassion. And then I immediately, consciously say, I give this to you. God, I give this to you. It's not mine. It's not mine to deal with. I give it to you. And so I bring it in, I feel the compassion, and I shoot it out of my body. And this is what I do when I work with people, because if I didn't, I'd be completely wiped out at the end of the day by taking on everybody's feelings. I used to, early in my career, when I worked with people, I would take on their feelings. I'd be wiped out. So I learned to do it much quicker with my clients than with people I love. But now I do. I don't reject them. I don't disengage from them. I take it in with compassion and give it to God. Realize it's not yours. And that will be very helpful to people, for you to stay kind and caring if they're available for that. Sometimes a person just needs you to go and put your arms around them and say, I'm here, you're not alone. But that's different than taking on their feelings. That's different than being unhappy because they're unhappy. That is not where you need to go. So I hope you practice that. I hope you realize that it doesn't help anybody for you to be pulled into their lower frequency, and it can help them for you to stay in your heart, in your love, and pull them into a higher frequency with your caring. And like I said, sometimes just a hand on their shoulder, a hug, saying, you're not alone, I'm here, I care about you, I love you, is enough to help them move out of that wounded state. This week's episode is brought to you by the Inner Bonding Masterclass. When you join this membership, you'll be part of a compassionate and supportive community who understands what you're going through and who will help you throughout your healing journey. The Inner Bonding membership is created to provide laser coaching for you and others in the community who may be facing the same struggles, so that you can practice the inner bonding process more effectively and apply it to your life. You also get to vote on the topic that we will focus on in our bi-monthly masterclass. This way, you and the community will always learn about and get guidance on the topic you're requesting most. Go to innerbonding.com/members to join us. You can use the code BENEFIT to get a 10% discount on your registration at checkout. Again, go to innerbonding.com/members.